I feel, at
Yep.
least.
うん。What I wanted to say. Wait. あれなんだっけ
Welcome to Seiyuu Lounge. My name is Vanessa, and today I have a special guest in this episode just to talk specifically about Japanese culture and language. This, of course, is the first time that we have a guest on the show. However, we had back in 2021 Katari, one group that you may already know, featuring the popular seiyuu Shinichiro Kamyu, who sent actually a message to the show. But this, of course, was not a full-on guest. Right now we have a special guest with us. It is Kotaro, a friend of mine, joining us for a couple of episodes of this podcast. You've sent your questions, I have mine, and we are going to talk about Japanese culture, language, seiyuu, and much more. Now, without further ado, Kotaro, welcome to the show, and can you introduce yourself really quickly to let everyone know what you are all about, what you like doing, and other stuff that you may feel it is relevant for the show? The floor is actually yours.
Hello, my name is Kotaro. I'm a bit quite nervous, actually. My name is Kotaro Nishio, and I'm from Japan, Tokyo. And, well, I don't know what to start with. Now I live in France, and that's because to a kind of like a familial reason. And I'm teaching Japanese online. And I'm also trying to start a content creation. And I also do podcast and posting on TikTok, YouTube, and stuff like this.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Kotaro is actually an amazing Japanese language teacher. He has been helping me quite a lot since last year. I still suck. I'm going to be honest. I still suck when it comes to speaking Japanese. I try my best, but Kotaro is actually pretty awesome. At the moment, he does have a podcast for you if you want to learn Japanese and listen to Japanese being spoken in a natural way, a slow-paced way. So you do have that in there. I'm going to share the links in the description of this video, so do not worry. You can actually check his podcast and actually subscribe to it if you feel like that's the type of content that you want to actually subscribe to. I feel that you are going to enjoy this episode a lot, and Kotaro, actually, do not worry. You don't need to be stressed out, because I feel that people that are going to tune in for this episode are more stressed out about me having a guest, because I never had a guest before. And the listeners know that when I start talking, I don't stop. So this is going to be quite a lengthy episode because I don't stop. So don't worry, relax, because the listeners were actually pretty kind to you with really awesome questions. So I'm going to give the floor to you. I'm going to bring just a question to start off. Anne, one of the viewers, thank you very much for sending the question, asks, is the Japanese language I learned from basically listening to music and anime enough to get around in Japan?
So that's a question?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would say, I mean, for now, it sounds really great, the things that the listener do. And, but... Well, however, I don't think it could be enough to deal with the real Japanese in Japan.
Yeah, I feel,
yeah. For example, like what I did for my, like when I was studying English, it's like I also did the same thing, like listening to music and watching drama and films, and well, at first I didn't understand anything, but I still tried to pronounce correctly, like in the same intonation and stuff like this. But I was also studying with like textbook to learn the basics, like grammars and stuff. It's kind of boring, but it's also essential.
Yeah. I will add on my end that I started learning Japanese through music, basically. And what is the massive problem here is that I can understand really complex stuff, but when it comes to talking, The talking really lacks a little bit of the context. Same thing for anime, for example. What are the things that we basically learn in anime are not necessarily what we use usually. I believe no one is going to say bakayaro to anyone, teme to anyone. That's rude
Or
as heck.
Sojiji or something like that.
Yeah, ksojiji. We are not going to say that stuff because it doesn't work like that. And you will understand quickly when you talk with someone in Japan that they are not even going to understand you. They will feel that the Japanese is a bit weird because it is anime style. But I say, music, you get a bit more... I would say not necessarily the grammar, but you get that sense of how the literature, the culture actually influences the lyrics. It's more a cultural style of thing, more so than learning the language itself. So I feel that it is good for repetition. You are listening to words over and over again, then you start pronouncing those at the same time as the person singing, and you start getting the intonation. But other than that, I feel it is not enough. And I'm a good example of that. It's not enough. Really.
And listening to music, it's the most difficult Japanese because, well, they don't pronounce the words like we speak normally, like we do normally.
Yeah.
And well, sometimes it's really like fast, and we can't really hear. Same in English. Like I didn't understand anything. Like the first time I listened to complicated music.
Yeah.
And,
for example, I read an interview a couple of months ago in which a Seiyuu was saying that actually how we speak in Japanese standard is a different way from how we do the intonation for anime itself. So even the intonation for anime is completely different from how people usually speak. So we may be learning how to pronounce words, but they are not really pronounced that way. They are just enhanced for anime, for that value. So even Seiyuu actually recognized that what they are speaking there is not necessarily how Japanese is actually spoken. So I would say that's a good answer for Anne. So thank you very much for sending in the question.
Thank you.
And then we have a question by NS, and S says, are there any misconceptions foreigners have about Japanese culture or people? That's the question.
I don't know for this. Do you have like any examples? Like, because I can't really think of...
Yeah. I believe that we talked about a couple of months ago that I said, I had a misconception when I visited Japan for the first time. I thought Japanese people were actually quiet on the subway and on the train. But the truth is, I was in Shinosaka, and in Shinosaka, people were actually screaming inside of the subway. And I was thinking, people actually sold me a completely different idea, because people were saying, hey, Japanese people are really, really quiet. They really respect each other when they are on the train. And usually, especially when it is rush hour, they are not speaking at all. And I found a lot of obasans actually speaking a lot and really loud in the bus and in the subway. So that's a misconception that I had. Another one was that Japanese people usually are kind of, I would say, too kind, but they are being sarcastic in the background, and that's that false sense of Japanese are just kind just because they want to be kind, but behind the scenes they are thinking, well, that gaijin is actually really dumb, or they are doing really weird stuff or something like that. So there's that misconception that there is a fake kindness to Japanese people. It's not necessarily that, I feel. It depends also how you, as an international person, you go there, or a foreigner, how you treat Japanese people. They will treat you back almost in the same way. So I believe that's a misconception. I can safely say that when I went to Osaka, people were extremely kind to me. So I didn't have any problems. I was really shy because my Japanese is not really that great, but I actually navigated full Osaka without using any English words. But still, the kindness that you give to Japanese people is actually the kindness that you are going to get. So I wouldn't say that there is a fake kindness coming from Japanese people, but you will know much better than me, of course.
Yeah, I mean, especially, I don't think I necessarily knew the misconception when I was in Japan, but it was more like it was easier to recognize after living in France, because I see many, like TV shows and featuring Japan. the French people living in Japan and stuff like this. And, or I was not necessarily expecting like these kind of contents. And yeah, and also like nowadays it's really easy for us to, you know, like get information on TikTok, like viral content. I mean, viral, like when the video goes viral, I think it leads to a misconception.
Yeah.
Which is, I often see these days is the, you know, the, I mean, it's not necessarily bad and necessarily wrong, but like at the airport, you know, the like rest of the airports, they throw the luggage, and but in Japan, like, you know, they treat the luggage really well. But it's not wrong. It's not that extreme. Like, we don't have to think that Japanese people are really like, I don't know, like polite. Just, yeah, if when you go to Japan, then maybe it's not the case for like the 100%, and you might, I don't know, get disappointed. Well, that's not cool.
Yeah, hopefully not. But I can safely say that, for example, when I went to Tokyo, I was surprised that people say, oh, the streets in Tokyo are really clean. And truth is, mostly they are, the main ones. But when you go to the side streets for those izakayas and everything else, you notice that the streets are really dirty. Sometimes even dirtier than I would say the ones in New York, for example. There's only trash everywhere. So there are a couple of ideas that are really true. Japan as a whole is a really clean nation, let's say. But if you start to dig in, you will notice that they are just like everyone else. Just they know how to present themselves much better to everyone. So I feel that there is the misconception of Japanese people being really clean is one of those. The noise is another one. The fake kindness, it is another one. Yeah, but I would say you treat people and they will treat you back, so you need to actually pay attention to that as well. I noticed, for example, that Japanese people are really a lot kinder. They usually are, but they are much kinder if you try to speak in Japanese more so than speaking in English. I noticed that openness, that when you are asking things in English, they get really stressed out. I can understand why. But if you make the effort to speak one or two words in Japanese, the eyes almost shine with appreciation because you are making an effort. I would say that's something that they recognize in you, and they will treat you much kinder if you do that effort, even if it is minimal, just one word like Ohio or something like that. People will already look at you differently because you actually made the effort to learn something. And Japanese is not a really easy language to learn as well, so I feel that they value that a lot more.
Yeah, especially like we think that, I mean, we're from an island, and I don't think it's easy for like other people to, you know, get to Japan. Like, why do they come? Like, for us, it's like we're happy that people come to Japan and they like it, the experience. So, like, basically, yeah, we're really thankful that the like tourists or foreigners, they come to Japan and learn Japanese and actually talk in Japanese. Yeah, and also one tip, I was going to talk on my podcast, and it's always nice to talk in Japanese, but one day on French TV show, I saw a tourist saying arigato to like shop stuff. I think it was in a restaurant. And well, already it's really nice thing. Like, you know how to say thank you in Japanese, but arigato, it's something that we use only, I don't know, for someone who's close. So you can say arigato, but like to have more, I don't know, like a nice experience that like you had, you can say arigato gozaimasu and stuff like this. It's a tiny thing, but yeah, there are many kind of things that makes Japanese happier.
Yeah, I noticed, for example, when it comes to eating at a restaurant, if you start with the basically thanking for the food and then ending with wrapping up and saying thank you again, the gocho samadeshita, usually they react really positively when you do that. And you don't need to say arigato by the end of that, because they already are thankful that you actually enjoyed the meal. And I found it really interesting because the people on the other side were yelling Maido, and it was really, really fun to actually get that experience, which otherwise you wouldn't get. So yeah. Now, we have different questions, and these ones are a bit more closely to what do you do. In this case, we have unwelcome. Unwelcome is one of the most frequent viewers and listeners on the podcast.
Cool.
So,
Hello.
yeah, hello, unwelcome. And unwelcome asks, how did you become a Japanese teacher?
Well, I'm not sure if I can call myself a Japanese teacher. I'm more like a Japanese tutor, because, well, at first I don't have any certificate.
Yeah, okay.
That I guess you can earn this, I don't know, with like 500 hours of study or something like this, or like the course. We have the like official Japanese teacher course, but I don't have it, and that's not my background anyway. But I came to France and I had to find a source of income, and I was checking on the internet if I can use like that bit, like just being Japanese can work for something. And yeah, like when I was studying English, I think I wanted to have someone to like practice, just having like a casual chat to output what you learned. And well, I found the platform, which is called Preply, and yeah, I think that's I don't know, like it sounded really good for me, and I registered on the website. So that's why I became a tutor.
Yeah, I'm going to add that you are a really good tutor. So
thank you.
Even if you are not a teacher, I feel that you are a really good tutor. And sometimes it makes a bit of difference. I would say a teacher is more someone that is teaching to a lot of people. I feel that tutor has a more intimate relationship. It's one-on-one basically. So I feel that you are doing really awesome your job. So yeah.
I'm not going to just justify myself, but like, certificates doesn't really it's not always matter. Like it doesn't always matter.
I'm going to tell you, I had a Japanese teacher that was not as good. She was good following the textbooks, but other than that, I felt that I didn't learn anything, or the level was too low for me in terms of the learning itself. It was perhaps too basic, and maybe my level was a bit higher. But I didn't learn much there. It was basically for practice, and even in a class you don't have a lot of practice because you have 20 people actually want to speak with the teacher, so you may have maybe 30 seconds in a 1 hour class to speak, so that's not a lot. There's that. And Unwelcome adds as well, she has another question, and the question is, what are your recommendations for self-studying Japanese effectively?
Effectively, it depends on her goal. I imagine to be fluent, or like, I don't know, like conversational level.
Yeah.
Then, like I said before, like earlier, I think it's important to study like the core, the basic thing, which is grammar. Like whether you're advanced or intermediate or beginner, I think you can always study this. And on top of that, like you can choose like films or whatever you like, and you can find like the people who's speaking on specific topic in Japanese. Well, you might not understand like everything, but what I want to say is, like, if you continue the essential part, which is grammar, like the grammar part, and then like as well as the like the things you like, or like anime, film, whatever you like, and then eventually you reach the point like you kind of like start to understand like the drama or like anime, like what they're saying, or what do they mean. And yeah, that's what happened. And it's I believe it's effective way, but it's also long term. In language learning is
Yeah.
long term.
It's ongoing.
Studies.
Yeah, I would say that's ongoing, and that's essential to actually vary the sources of your Japanese, not only the textbooks, because while it is good to learn from those, it is still not how Japanese people speak. That's something that I understood quickly. Those are really well formatted phrases or sentences, but you usually don't use those besides the basic ones. Music is a good way to actually get familiar with the speed. And I would say, for example, radio shows are good to vary the topics that you are learning. And anime is good to actually start practicing the Japanese. I would say that's the easiest form of Japanese that we can learn. And if we can actually watch an episode of anime without subtitles, it's already a really, really good sign that we are on track to learn Japanese and become fluent, I would say. Then the TV shows, the dramas, I would say that's a good way to actually improve even better. So yeah, I would suggest all of these to Unwelcome, and I hope that what Kotaro said is actually something that resonated with you. In this case, we have then Morin. Morin asks, Morin actually says, hello to both of you. I have a cultural curiosity. Generally speaking, do Japanese people listen to songs in languages other than Japanese? And she adds, I know that English and K-pop songs are really popular, but are there any other international exponents in the Japanese music bubble? Because usually Americans tend to listen to songs in English or Spanish, or by American artists only. And in Brazil, from where Moran is, she says that it is basically they listen to basically to national or English-speaking artists mixed with pretty much everything. So they have a variety in Brazil. In the US, you know that they listen only to English or Spanish. And in Japan, there's a small bubble of K-pop. I know that we've talked about that outside of this podcast. And there's some influence of English bands, but I would love to know from your end, especially because Morin asked this, if there are other languages or songs in other languages that are really becoming popular in Japan, or if you notice that Japanese people actually listen to music beyond Japanese artists.
Well, first, I'm not sure if I'm the right person to answer because I don't represent all the Japanese, and for me, I think I used to listen to many like the foreign songs from the US or the UK.
Yeah.
A bit of Europe. But I think my friends, they really liked Japanese artists. J-pop is really big. But there's a certain amount of people who listen to like English, American music.
Yeah.
And K-pop is becoming like bigger and bigger now.
That's crazy. When I went there last year, 2 years ago, I didn't found too much of that, but all of a sudden, that's the talk in town in Japan. So yeah, K-pop is big right now. I feel that
it's big.
From what I gather from some people that I know in Japan, I would say that Japanese people are more inclined to listen to music in Japanese because that's comfortable. Also because Japanese artists are really amazing, so why bother actually listening to other stuff when you have so many good artists? But also there's that part of the society, let's say younger people that are really into the trendy stuff, and that may include the songs basically sang in Spanish in the US. They may include the songs performed in English as well from the US, UK, or other countries in the world. I would say, for example, in my experience in Portugal, I would say that we listen more to music from other countries than our country. And that's because our music sucks. Simple as that. Only rock music is good around here. Other than that, we do have some different music genres that usually other countries don't have. Kizomba is a music genre that we have, and most people don't know even what it is. Basically, it's from our African ex-colonies. So that's a really danceable, sort of Caribbean style, tropical vibe. that we have here, which makes no sense because Portugal is not tropical at all. We also have Portuguese people singing in Spanish really badly because our pronunciation of the Spanish language is awful. And also we have a ton of English as well. I would say within the small community that we have of fans of Japanese music and everything else, of course, we have a lot of people that love Japanese music, but they are mostly around One Ok Rock, I would say, because they are the big name from there, and the Gazette. Those are the two big names from Japan if we are going to talk about rock music. And the other stuff would mainly be, I would say, in a fringe Gran Rodeo because they are big with anime music. And not much else. When it comes to K-pop is really big in Portugal, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Right now, a couple of years ago, it wasn't. So there's a big community of K-pop fans around here. But that community appeared after I stopped being a fan. So for me, it no longer makes any sense. Yeah, it comes and goes. But here in Portugal, I feel that the idea was that Korean was such a complicated language to understand that people didn't even want to dive into that. Then there was all the stuff about how they look, how they sing, and everything else that was triggering people, basically. So people were more open to the Japanese side of the music, let's say. J-pop, J-rock, they were more open to that. And even Visual K, which is quite the new thing for people here to see, because we don't usually have bands in which the members use makeup. Basically, that's not that common for them to wear makeup here. So some people may look at some of those Visual K bands and be really shocked. But then if they don't see them and listen to the music, they will recognize that the music is really good. So I feel that in Portugal, it may be a little bit like how Moran said, we listen to a little bit of everything. We have Spain really close to us, so we listen to music from Spain. We also have all those influences, so we listen to a little bit of everything. But Portuguese music, not so much. We also listen to a lot of Brazilian music. So Moran, we actually listen to a lot of Brazilian music around here. So yeah, thank you very much for sending the question. Anne asks, how is it to work in Japan? I know that a lot of international fans of anime and J-pop music want to work there, but how is it really to work in Japan?
I don't know. You mean like the foreigner perspective?
Yeah, let's say from the foreigner perspective, yeah. And then talk us a little bit about your perspective as a Japanese person, like actually working there, yeah.
Well, I think there's a huge difference between like our society and I don't know. It depends on like where they're from. Like if it's China or Korea, they might be like small, just different. But or let's say if someone from France or Europe, I think it's going to be challenging, I would say. For me, because I'm Japanese and I'm used to it, but the like the parts I don't like, it's well, it could be positive, but we are kind of close to our colleagues. So yeah, like it's nice, like it's almost as friends, and like after working, we go outside and like get drink and stuff like this. But for certain people, and I think nowadays we hear many Japanese saying that this part of our culture is kind of really mendokusai, like it's I don't know how to say it in English.
Yeah, it is a burden because you feel that you have to, otherwise you are not going to make friends at work, or people are going to put you aside or something like that.
And then so there are a certain amount of people who doesn't like this kind of culture, and companies are changing. So for example, they're saying like just like don't do extra work, like just go home, or stuff like this. But I think it will take time to remove this culture from our society, and it's I can't say it's zero. Like it won't be zero company that does this kind of thing. and it will always stay in Japanese culture. And,
Yeah.
if you are okay to this kind of thing, I mean, because like to go into nomikai or like the drinking culture, you can say no. But if you say yes, there are some benefits that you can, like the say occasion to talk to your like boss or seniors, and it's called nomikai, like a drinking thing, but we always talk about, job. And
Yeah.
you might have like opportunities, or I don't know, like I'm just saying, but I didn't have, I don't think. But yeah, it's certainly correct that I went to many drinking stuff after working.
Yeah.
Mm.
One thing that I noticed, for example, is that when it comes to the entertainment industry in Japan and the music industry in Japan, it's even harder for foreigners to actually start working there. I have a good example, for example, in this case. I know a manager that is working in Japan with Seiyuu and Talento.
Yeah.
And
Hi.
is the only foreigner actually working in the industry, which is
Okay.
crazy. Yeah, he's currently working at Sony Music, but it is crazy how he's the only one. And how he is the only one is because that he actually has the certification for the N1 exam, I feel. It's the highest level in Japanese language. So he's
Okay.
fluent to a really high level that I believe not even Japanese people are, because he knows how to read all those kanji, which are insane.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so he has that high level as hell. But that's the only way that they actually got to work there was through an internship, through the university, and then actually use the fact that he had that diploma to be taken seriously in Japan and be trusted by fellow Japanese, let's say, co-workers when it comes to his skills. Because I feel that Japanese people will still look at foreigners in a different way when they want to work there. I feel, at
Yep.
least.
What I wanted to say. Wait. あれなんだっけ? Yeah. It's definitely important to be fluent in Japan if you want to build a career.
Yeah.
If you don't really mind, like, I don't know, earning more money and stuff like this. If your goal is just to live in Japan and just to have a job, then like N1 is not mandatory, I guess.
I feel it is overkill. That's really complex, that exam, even for Japanese people.
Yeah, it is. I don't think I will pass the kanji part.
For
No
sure,
chance.
I won't pass that one. I will try the N4 and the N3, but I'm not going to try above that, because that seems overkill. When I saw how many kanji it requires you to know, no, that's really difficult. I feel that even Japanese people will not know all of those. But that's something, if you can actually do that, well, you can do that. That's the more power to you. Maybe you can be a lecturer at a university or something like that because of that. Or become a writer in Japanese. That's also an option. But I feel that, for example, to work at a konbini, something in the entertainment industry, it's not
service industry, I
Yeah.
would say, because there are many tourists and foreigners coming to Japan, and we need someone who speak English.
Yeah,
We don't. So
yeah. We are not going to require that much complexity in the Japanese, I would say. So thank you very much, Anne, for the question. And then I don't feel that this is going to be answered, because I feel that you don't have anyone working in the Seiyuu industry. Do you have? Do you know anyone that tried to become a Seiyuu?
no, I don't think so.
No. So I'm going to skip
No.
this question. So I'm going to leave this one marked as skip. And what do we have here? Okay, we have a really different question here when it comes to culture and Japan. So the question is from NS, and she says, what's something from Japan that you wish everyone could experience at least once? Without being cliche, something that tourists do, let's skip that. But something that you wish that foreigners would actually experience in Japan at least once in their lives.
Foreigners.
Yeah.
なんだろうね. I don't know. I well, it's not necessarily foreigners, but I mean for me as well. Japan, like it's really like it has diverse. I mean, in terms of like nature and stuff like this, it's well Tokyo. It's like a megapolis, and you don't have like a big park or no mountains.
Yeah.
But if you go to a countryside and it's really nice. Like there are many greens, like mountains, and like waters are clean, rivers and stuff like this. And that's now like what I imagine Japan is, and not just Tokyo, like or Osaka, like the neon sign
Yeah.
with like I don't know how many people like on the street. Yeah, so that's also what I want to do, like visit natures, especially mountains, and then like you definitely have temples or shrines there. It doesn't have to be like popular one, but it's really nice to like embark these kind of place and feel the like zen kind of thing. Yeah.
I felt, for example, when I was walking around the streets of Nara and Kyoto, that people, sometimes there are small shrines hidden between houses, or sometimes within someone's house, and they open the doors for people to actually go there and actually see the small shrine in their houses. So that's a really different part of Japan that I feel that not many people actually pay attention to. They usually go to the big ones, and because those are the tourist-driven shrines. But I feel that we have the smaller ones that actually are more for the Shinto, basically for the Shinto celebration itself, more so than being just a magnet for tourists to pay for the omikuji or something like that. So I feel that it is a bit different in tone. And I noticed when I went there, I noticed a little bit of the difference from the shrines in Osaka, downtown, and the shrines in Tokyo, from the ones that I saw in Nara and outside of the big ones in Nara and outside of the big ones in Kyoto. It's completely different. It's almost like a different country within Japan. It is really, really interesting. And I noticed that a lot of Japanese people tend to recommend foreigners to, if you have already seen Osaka and Kyoto and Tokyo, next time you come, go to the countryside, because that's where the beauty is. That's where the awesome, tasty food is, and that's where a lot of kind people are. So they are not used as much to receive foreigners there, but they are as welcoming as people in the big cities. So I would say, from my end as a foreigner, I would say countryside. And Kotaro, you actually said the same thing, so I would say countryside. Yeah,
but there's definitely language barrier.
Yeah,
that makes it really difficult for foreigners to, go there and enjoy 100%.
Yeah, I would say maybe try to find a guide to help, because I've been seeing a lot of people saying that they are guides for the countryside. If you want to explore the inside of Nagano, Yamanashi, and everything else, you can actually explore with a guide, and you do not have to worry about the language barrier, because I will assume most people living in the countryside don't speak English whatsoever. And even their Japanese may have a lot of accent, which may not be as common from the standard Japanese that people are used to listen to.
Yeah, you're right.